Okay guys, last but not least, video number 3, part 3. What is the best way for others to be supportive? Respect pronouns. Simple as that. That is hands down the best way to be supportive. If you're a really cool badass person who is friends with a transgender person, or you're dating a transgender person, stick up for them and correct anybody who misgenders them. Do it politely, depending on how blatantly ridiculous and ignorant whoever it was that misgendered your friend, said, spouse, whatever the case may be. If they're a douche about it, be a douchebag. Actually, don't. I didn't say that. Because here's my thing. It's really one of those turn the other cheek kind of things, because it's like a catch-22. You either are nice about it, and then you're seen as weak because you didn't stand up for yourself, or you're a complete jackass about the whole thing, and then that puts another negative label on transgender people. Well, oh, I knew a trans person and he jumped all over me because I called him a her, or whatever. We can't win for losing at this point. So first and foremost, respect our pronouns. If you know that we're trans, you know which pronouns we prefer, use them. That's the best, very best way to be supportive. What needs to change the most of how the average person perceives transgender people? I think I've hit on this a couple of times already, but the simple fact is we are people. Again, I think a lot of people tend to put us in this big, scary, unknown, freak of nature kind of situation, and that's not the case at all. So, I think what needs to change the most is that we are seen as people and not freaks of nature as some people would like to think we are. What do you like the most about who you are now? I am more confident in who I am. If you look back, I haven't done this personally, but now that I think about it, I'm kind of interested to see. If you go back and you watch my very first video that I did 8.5 months ago, compared to the ones that I'm doing right now, I think you will see a brand new me. Like, completely different, more confident, the way I hold myself, the way I carry myself in my videos. I'm a lot more open with body language and whatnot because I'm more confident. So that's pretty much where I would have to go with that one. What does it feel like to be in the wrong body? I've been thinking on this one for a couple of days, and I can't come up with anything as painful as being in the wrong body. I can't even come up with anything to compare it to, because it's that traumatic. It's that, I mean, look at it this way. We have, at this point, 12 kids or more who are taking their own lives because they can't stand to live in the wrong body. How many cisgender people do you know that, are committing suicide because they're happy they were a boy or they're happy they were a girl? None. Obviously, I'm not taking away from their suicides or making them any less. I cannot think of the word. Important. That wasn't the word I was going for, but I'll use it. Meaningful, that was the word. I'm certainly not taking away from their pain and their trauma and whatever. That's not what I'm here for. My point is, you don't hear of transgender people committing suicide because they flunked chemistry, or because they didn't make the cheerleading squad, or you don't hear about that. You hear that they've committed suicide because people refuse to accept who they were, and people have tried so hard to make them who they're not. That's the best way that I can answer that question, is to just pay attention to teen suicides, and to better answer that question, pay attention to the transgender suicides, and just watch the news, check Facebook feeds. I mean, they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and it's terrible. If you have children, what would be the #1 thing you would teach them about life? Respect people. First and foremost, that will be the #1 rule in our house. You will respect me, you will respect your mother, and you will respect each other, as well as the world around you. You may not always get the same respect back, but you will respect everybody else. Because people don't realize what other people are going through. If I were to walk next to somebody walking down the street, I would have no idea who they were, or their story, or what kind of day they've had, or anything about them unless I struck up a conversation and became friends with them. And then, once, I got to know them better, then I would understand where they came from. You just never know. If somebody gets behind you in a vehicle and they're honking their horn and they're flipping you off and all, you don't know what kind of day they've had. I know it's frustrating, and it's a lot easier for me to stand here and say that than for me to be in the car with the idiot behind me honking, and I don't know what kind of day he's had. He could have just lost his wife, or his wife could be in the hospital, on life support, and he's trying to get to her. You never know what people are going through. So the number one thing that I will be teaching my kids is to respect people. All races, all genders, all gender identities, it doesn't matter. You will respect people as a whole. How has social support hindered or helped your transition? And I'm going to take two ways with that. From my own personal social life, it's been a huge support. It has absolutely... I have the best friends and family on the planet. I haven't had any issues other than with my mom that I could even see as a problem. Because everybody has been so open-minded, they've been so welcoming, and so that's really meant a lot to me. So the other side of that, socially as in society, it's a pain in the ass. I cannot stand society as a whole, and I'm a sociology major, which is probably why I can't stand society. Anyway, these laws that are trying to make it illegal for me to use the men's room in public, that's a hindrance. That's not helping me at all. If I have to pee, where am I supposed to go? You may go outside with the dogs, because that's essentially what you're telling me. So, I think as a society we need to stop being so scared of anything that's different, because that's essentially what it boils down to. People don't understand transgender people, and so they're afraid of us. They don't know, they don't understand our walk, they don't understand our path, they don't understand our journey. That's why I'm so open with everything. If I am as open as I am with you, then you have no reason to be ignorant. Because ignorance is born of lack of education. So, if you have all the education that I can give you, you have no reason to be ignorant. Simple as that. What can we do on campus to promote trans visibility? Another really good question. Gender-neutral bathrooms needs to be first and foremost on all college campuses, as well as anywhere else on the planet. Because we just want to pee. That's really all it is. That's all it boils down to. And people are trying to take that away from us. And I feel like gender-neutral bathrooms would alleviate a lot of the stress of do I pass, do I not, before entering a restroom. I know a lot of trans guys especially are afraid of getting their asses kicked if they walk into a men's room and they don't pass. Trans women, I don't really know what their struggle is, but I'm sure they have one. I would assume that if they look too masculine and they're walking into a women's restroom, they're going to freak out a lot of women. And, get hit with purses and whatever. So, I can't imagine that would be fun for them either. So, transgender, or gender-neutral bathrooms would be the first step. From there, I would say make any kind of trans, LGBT, clubs that may be on campus already, promote them, make them more well known, recruit people, and by that I mean get the word out. Let people know, hey, this is what we're doing, this is who we are. You're more than welcome to come hang out. Get to know some people, because a lot of trans people need all the support they can get, and what better place to get it than with people that are walking in the same shoes you're walking in. So. Once you have decided to transition, how do you know when the best time to begin the process is? Um, for me, when I first made the decision to transition, I I knew that it was time immediately. Like I had reached that point. I was done being something I couldn't. I was done trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be. I couldn't do it anymore. So that was when I knew that it was my time. But it took me 10 years to get there. So um, you just have to find where you're comfortable. You know, some people are, excuse me, some people are comfortable with not transitioning all the way. Some people want everything from hormones to top and bottom surgery. It really just depends on the person and what they're comfortable with. So, was it hard to essentially come out twice? Yes. I not only had to come out as lesbian when I was 19, but then to come out as trans less than a year later was a little bit hard on the family, and I can understand why, although I didn't at the time. So yeah, it was really hard for me to come out a second or third time for me, because I was so afraid that the way they had reacted the first time was going to be the same way that they reacted the second or third time I told them I was trans. So it was really, really nerve-wracking for me, which is another reason I am so grateful that I've got the friends and family that I do, because it wasn't a big deal in all reality in most cases. Some people are still struggling with it, and they're still, you know, trying to understand and whatever. But the important thing to me is that they're trying. They're not shutting the door on me. They're not disowning me. They're not, you know, disowning me, or I think I just said that, or anything else. So, you know, I mean, for me, it speaks volumes if you're going to go from I want nothing to do with you to, you know, you're making an effort. So that kudos to all of my friends and family, especially the ones that are having a hard time with it, but they're still making an effort. So, how does someone know they're transgender? That's another good question. Like I said, for me, it was a matter of I leaned more towards the guy things, and I wasn't truly happy just being a lesbian. I couldn't deal with having a chest or the lower parts for the rest of my life. I couldn't picture my kids calling me mom, or you know, I was always dad, even with pets, even with Gus, who's had surgery. So if I keep looking around, that's why I'm checking on him to make sure he's not getting into anything he shouldn't be. But anyway, I digress. I was always dad with, you know, pets, and, you know, even when I was with significant others and we were talking about having kids or whatever, I would always ask them, you know, would you be okay if our kids call me dad instead of mom, you know, whatever. And so that just, I always felt more comfortable with the masculine pronouns, the masculine names, the masculine, you know, titles, I guess, so to speak. When people are unsure of which pronouns to use, how would you prefer they ask? That depends on the person and how well you know them. When I transferred from my old store to my new one, my new manager sat me down and he said, "What do you want me to call you?" And so I, you know, obviously gave him my preferred name, which he already knew at that point. He goes, "Okay, what pronouns do I use?" Just straight up. Because he wanted the word to get out to the rest of the store that I was he, or him, or, you know, whatever. So that helped a lot in, you know, getting used to a new store and whatever. So, anyway, just ask is the easiest answer. But ask politely. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, what are you?" is not a good way, you know, to go about doing that. If you know they're transgender and they have told you that they are transgender, then it's okay to ask them, you know, which pronouns they prefer. If you've heard that they're transgender or that they're different or, you know, whatever, then I would wait it out and get a better feeling for that person, and then ask them, you know, what pronouns they prefer, or just listen to what everybody else calls them and pay attention to their facial expressions, because I guarantee you if they get the wrong gender, it's going to show all over their face. So pay attention to them, and just kind of, you know, like I said, if you know them well, then go for it. So, and that was all for the Q&A. Those are the ones that I felt the most comfortable answering. So, I'm going to sign off here, and for those of you that watch my videos regularly, I will talk to you all next week. Have a great weekend.